House Republicans are diving headfirst into what they call their We Dare Defend Our Rights agenda.
Tonight, Arkansas has passed the nation's most restrictive abortion law.
Story at 10, a new Wisconsin abortion law.
Due at 11:30 tonight, a Nashville abortion clinic shut down.
Requires women seeking an abortion to get an ultrasound.
Unusually harsh words from Governor Henry over a new law that forces women to have an ultrasound.
We currently live in a country where 87% of our counties have absolutely no abortion providers.
They've decided that it doesn't matter what the federal law is, as long as at the state level we can block women from having access to abortion even as it remains legal.
They're picking off states one by one. They're doing it very deliberately.
We are already in a partially pre-Roe existence in Mississippi. I already know that women drink bleach to try to abort in Mississippi.
Their leading edge is to completely make illegal a woman's right to determine her own reproductive destiny.
The problem is your heart!
I'm afraid that merely for the sake of pacifying the political and moral understandings of a very vocal few, that we're going to compromise the health and well-being of the many.
It's been 4 decades since the Supreme Court affirmed a woman's constitutional right to an abortion. That decision in Roe v. Wade was the result of a long struggle by many of our mothers and grandmothers, including my own. Thanks to them, I live in a world where I'm in control of my own reproductive choices. But it's a right we can no longer take for granted. Today, more and more states are passing increasingly restrictive laws that prevent us from making our own decisions about our reproductive health care and put Roe at risk.
We're fighting a battle that should have been done and gone years and years ago.
Our mothers and our grandmothers have told us these stories and can recall what it was like before women had access to legal abortion, and they don't want to go back.
30 years ago, there were 14 abortion clinics in the state of Mississippi. But after repeated legislative assaults, only one remains.
Being on the abortion clinic is challenging every single day. Every day that I walk through those doors. And, just the thought of us not being here and not being able to provide for these women it's a stressful situation, but at the same time, you're overjoyed that you can still open those doors every day and serve these women.
The Jackson, Mississippi clinic is painted a bright, defiant pink, sending the message that the clinic is not planning on going anywhere. But the clinic itself isn't the only target. Restrictive laws, personal harassment, and very serious security threats have made it impossible for local doctors to practice there.
The protesters, the antis, they harass them, they go to their houses. We would get a local doctor, they'll stay for a little while, and they'll just say they can't deal with it because it's so much.
The Jackson Clinic must now fly its 2 doctors in from out of state.
You need to quit killing the babies, Norman. You need to quit killing the babies and injuring the women, Norman.
I am very mindful of the danger involved. I find that when I arrive and I see the women who have made the very tough decision to have an abortion and who muster the courage to walk past people that they know are going to judge them, I decided that if those women can brave all of that, I want to make sure that there's somebody there to meet them.
Only human beings have the free will to do violence against our own.
Women are shamed and stigmatized, turning abortion into something other than health care.
When was your last cycle, baby? We give women the ability to be able to come here. That's what we work for. The only thing we ask of them is to not be ashamed of it.
When they say to me, I love my kids, but I can't have another baby right now, I understand that.
The reality in Mississippi is that since there's only one clinic, a woman who lives 3 hours away has to first generate the resources to travel, to have housing, to arrange childcare, and to pay the fee for the procedure. These things all delay women from having an early abortion, which is the safest time to have it, simply because they live in the state of Mississippi.
Denisha, a 20-year-old college student, left her home at 5 a.m. to make the 4-hour drive to Jackson. A gauntlet of protesters greets her at the clinic.
The decision wasn't easy. It's not that I don't want to have a child, it's just that I want to finish school first because I'm in college, and I just want to get everything together because I want to have a good life for a child if I decide to have a child.
We'd like to follow you until you are perfectly clear to you.
I know what happens when abortion's not safe and when it's not available. Women die.
Tonight, we travel to the last abortion clinic in Mississippi, which, as we arrive, has only 72 hours left before it appears the state will shut it down.
As far as we knew, as long as we hadn't heard anything, that we were not to open the following day.
Abortion is murder.
For us not to have a clinic, it would mean that women in Mississippi no longer had access to their constitutional right to abortion. Women of Mississippi, that's just a constitutional right you don't get.
They're not even subtle about it. The truth of the matter is, they're very clear. Our goal is to end abortion in Mississippi.
At the 11th hour, the judge quietly issued an injunction blocking the state from proceeding with its intent to close the clinic. It felt like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. We exchanged a lot of hugs. We took care of a lot of people. The clinic was busier than ever.
You know what it means. But we also know we can't count on the courts. We have to be working on the ground here to make the changes.
For now, the sole remaining clinic in Mississippi stays open, but it may only be a temporary reprieve. The pressure to shut it down remains. What's taking place in Mississippi is being repeated all across the country. In state after state, laws are being passed to prevent women from exercising their right to an abortion. In some cases, lawmakers have set rules for abortion facilities and their physicians that are not only medically unnecessary, but often impossible to meet. Other laws require women to endure waiting periods and unnecessary ultrasounds. States are banning abortions earlier and earlier in pregnancies. Some are even trying to ban abortions at 6 weeks, when many women don't even know they're pregnant. In June 2013, one of the most contentious abortion rights battles in the country erupted in Texas, when Governor Rick Perry used a special legislative session to introduce a bill that would drastically reduce access to abortions in the state.
We're here today to fight against a series of bills that would take us back decades and to say, we aren't going.
I've lived in Texas. I grew up here. My family's from here. I'm a fourth-generation Texan, and I've never seen anything like this. That was one of the most beautiful things I saw, is just people from all backgrounds coming together to form this community to kind of combat this harmful legislation.
They came to the Texas Capitol by the thousands, young and old, women and men, to protest the passage of what would be one of the most sweeping anti-abortion bills in the nation.
This bill is extremely problematic for the ways it impacts disproportionately women of color, specifically on the border.
This bill literally could lead to us having only 5 health centers in the state of Texas that could provide women access to safe and legal abortion. That's in a state of 26.5 million people.
Making more restrictions towards abortions doesn't stop abortions or even lessen abortions. It just means that women find other ways to have abortions, and usually that means an underground market.
Which means women will try to end their unwanted pregnancies in other ways.
Women in my community all know another woman who died self-aborting or having an illegal abortion.
For 13 straight hours on the evening of June 25, 2013, Texas State Senator Wendy Davis filibustered to prevent the passage of the bill.
Members, I'm rising on the floor today to humbly give voice to thousands of Texans who have been ignored.
Senate rules prohibited Senator Davis from sitting, leaning, eating, drinking, or going to the restroom as she shared the personal stories she had received from thousands of women.
All of us felt like we were physically channeling all of our energy into Wendy.
It is very frustrating to feel like the choices you have made are not being respected.
We're all just sitting and watching like,
To see on the night of the filibuster that 180,000 people from across the world were watching the Texas Tribune live stream of Senator Davis's filibuster was mind-boggling, and we were a worldwide trending topic on Twitter.
Getting a text that Barack Obama had just tweeted that something's happening in Texas. And of course, everyone went crazy because it felt like, well, we're not alone, that actually the whole world is watching.
we thought, wow, like something is really happening here. There's something building.
We took over the Capitol, and it's gonna, next week it'll be in Ohio. It's totally a movement. What happened in Texas, it sounded the alarm to the nation.
The good news is we're seeing people mobilize all over the place. My home state of Texas, I think everybody was surprised that we had it in us to come out by the tens of thousands.
I do believe for many of us, we saw something and felt something in Texas we hadn't felt in a long time, and that was hope.
Women from my generation, while we never had to actually experience the fight, and we've kind of grown up in this idea that we have access as a right, I think a lot of us understand, especially now, how important it is to maintain this right.
Now we have to take this battle and we have to make it our own and we have to fight.
It feels really good to see a groundswell of young people beginning to step up.
We're already at a point where we can't wait for it to get so bad that it goes to the Supreme Court. We have to act now.
It was your voices led to me that made it possible for me to stand those 13 hours.
In the end, in spite of the filibuster, the bill ultimately passed. But that's not the end of the story. There is now a strong and united movement ready to fight back, not just in Texas, but across the country.
There really is passion among young people in the grassroots and in the states around this issue.
When you engage and when you participate and when you stand up for something that you believe in, you can contribute to positive social change.
We need every type of person to understand in a profound way, this is a threat to all of us. A threat to women, it's a threat to men, and it's a threat to our democracy.
I, as a man, my stake in the game is my humanity is at stake. If I can, simply because I'm not a woman and will never have an unplanned pregnancy, if I can stand by idly, I'm actually saying that my sister doesn't matter, my mother didn't matter, the woman that I would be partnered with doesn't matter. And so this is a human rights issue. Your humanity is at stake.
Nothing is sacred that we don't fight for. No victory is ever forever, and that this is something that we will constantly be working for if we care about our daughters, our mothers, our sisters, having the safe and legal medical care that they need.
As I listen to the voices of women and men in Mississippi and Texas, I know that their stories are being repeated in far too many places all around the country. But the good news is that even though the threat to reproductive justice is growing, so are the numbers of courageous people willing to fight back. A movement has been awakened, and I hope you'll be a part of it.
The other side wouldn't even stand a chance, actually, if we all would just stand up.
Spread the word on social media. Support or join a group fighting for reproductive justice. Vote, protest, speak out. Stand up. This is our moment. This is our fight. We've come too far to turn back now. With our constitutional rights at risk and women's lives in the balance, the time for action is now.